Not yet.
Oh.
1 second.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. All right, now you're live.
Great. I'd like to call to order meeting of the regular meeting of the Summers Board of Selectmen. My name's Tim Keeney. I'm the first selectman, and with me this evening are Selectman Bill Meyer on my right, Selectman Bob Schmidt on my left. We also have a cast of interesting people that are going to be presenting tonight, including Director Todd Rowland, Department of Public Works Director, Director Maureen Parcell, Director of Rec and Leisure Services. All right, I forget that. You have Stephanie Levin with us, who's the Director of Business Services for the school system. Director Dan Parisi, who's the Land Use Director. CFO Mike Marinaccio, Assistant Finance Director Brian Wissinger, Veterans Affairs Director Dave McCaffrey, and our Zoning Enforcement Officer Jen Roy. I'd like to start off this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, public comment. I don't believe we have any public comment this evening, even though we set aside time for it. Presentations by First Selectman. First of all, I've got a few announcements I'd like to make, and just particularly public announcements. One is the splash pad that we've been hearing about for years. It's been in the makings for over 3 years now. It's the Macy Grace splash pad, which has been supported tremendously by Bill and Wendy McCluskey, whose daughter passed away in 2007, and this is one of their ways of paying back to the Summers community for all the support they received from the community back in 2007 when their young daughter of only 6 days old passed away. This event is going to be quite substantial. Maureen Parcell's out there, and she's going to be directing all of this, but I just wanted to mention that the Lions Club will be presenting water bottles, senior center, senior and leisure services. The leisure services will be presenting goodie bags, is that right? Yeah. Fire department's going to be there presenting for children hats and coloring books. Social services has a hidden in place demonstration that will be important for purposes of recognizing potential drug hidden places in homes. Women's Club is going to hand out some free books. We've got a local resident, Renee Coro, who's a singer who's going to be singing children's songs. And we have a pizza truck and an ice cream truck that'll be available for parents to purchase items for their children. So we're looking forward to it. It should be a great event. It starts at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, July 8th. Goes through 8 o'clock at night. We do expect decent weather, right? Excellent.
Still is. The forecast was good.
Good.
Maybe a scattered shower, but that's about it.
Great. Okay. Perfect. Next item I wanted to mention is the Somersville Wastewater Pollution Control Authority had applied for a grant several months ago through the office of U.S. Representative Joe Courtney, and we've received, this week we've received information from the office of Joe Courtney saying that the Interior and Environment Appropriations Bill has included in it a grant to the Somersville Wastewater Pollution Control Facility treatment improvements for $945,000. Its explanation is funds will be used to improve operations at the town's wastewater treatment plant which is 40 years old. The upgrades will result in important public health and public safety improvements as well as economic benefit to the community. Operational improvements to the existing plant's treatment train include rebuilding up to 6 single sand filters, beds, additions to flow and equalization and mass multi-pass treatment systems, modifications of existing UV disinfectant systems, upgrades to control systems to improve the effluent discharge into the Scannick River. This is quite significant. However, there's still many obstacles to this grant. One is the fact, okay, it's in the House Interior and Environment Appropriations bill. There are 12 appropriation bills. The bill itself has to pass the House. Same bill has to pass the Senate, and this may not be in the Senate bill, which means it goes into conference between the House and the Senate, assuming the Senate passes a bill, the House passes a bill. And if they don't pass bills, there could be an omnibus bill, and this could or could not be in it. So it's very questionable. But in the lengthy process too, we probably won't know until the end of the calendar year. But
it's an act of Congress, right?
Literally.
But it's nice that they're applying, though. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good too. But I should also mention that let's see, I had some other facts here that were worthwhile mentioning. Each member of the House of Representatives in Washington was given 15 projects that they could use as earmarks in the 12 appropriation bills. This was one that Representative Courtney chose from many of the applicants that came into his office, so we were lucky he chose it. The subcommittee reviewed it and approved it and put it into the bill. Unfortunately, because there are 15 earmarks per House member, that comes out to 6,525 earmarks. Again, as you may recall, earmarks were looked at as being inappropriate and illegal about 10 years ago. They changed their tune a little bit. And that comes out to about $10 billion of additional money that would have to be funded by the Congress and signed by the President. So it's a big number.
They weren't illegal, Tim, they just were to get things passed.
Yeah. Anyway, I also wanted to mention that the town's clerk's office has received a historic preservation grant for $5,500 from the state library. This is to help preserve important documents that the town is retaining and maintaining. Next item is I want to mention the retirement of Trooper Robert O'Connor from our police force, our resident trooper. He retired as of June 30, last week, with 8 months of service. And the state police have replaced him with a temporary trooper until they go through a testing process and assign a new state resident trooper permanently to our office. We've been in contact with the Troop C and mentioned some of the things we were interested in, them responding to with regards to who this permanent trooper might be. Our temporary trooper is Trooper Luke Davis, and Trooper Davis did attend the Emergency Preparedness Advisory Committee meeting this morning at 8 o'clock, hosted by the Emergency Management Assistant Director at the Fire Department. So he's been introduced to people know who he is now. And we also have a sergeant who's been appointed by to oversee the Summers Resident Trooper's office. That's Sergeant Joseph Hayward at Troop C Tolland Barracks. He happens to be a resident of Summers, and he's responsible for signing off on Summers officers' police reports. But again, because we have this constant turnover flux in the state police personnel, you never know how long people are going to be in their positions. We're looking for someone that we can count on being here for at least 2 years and is committed to the community. Next thing I wanted to mention is when we had our last Board of Selectmen meeting, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, we mentioned that there were some awards that, needed to be paid attention to that had not been, through town awards that historically we have handed out, we have presented every year, and they were last presented in the year 2019, 3 years ago. One is the Robert P. Perkowski Community Service Award, which is presented annually by the Board of Selectmen to deserving citizens who exemplify the ideals of character, integrity, service, kindness, and unselfishness to their fellow citizens and to the town of Somers. It was established in honor of Bob Perkowski, who died in office as first selectman back in the fall of 1996. I've been in contact with the other two selectmen on this matter, and we unanimously want to present the award this year to the director and deputy director of the Somers Veterans Affairs Office, Dave McCaffrey and Sherry Marquis. Both these individuals are veterans, first of all. They tend to be both naval veterans, in particular to that. They have distinguished themselves and acted above and beyond what could be expected with regards to making available to our veterans the services and benefits that they are entitled to. These two individuals each have averaged between 30 and 35 hours of work a week, including 14 office hours here at Town Hall. And then in addition to that, another 15 administrative follow-up hours. And they've made house visits to veterans who can't get out of their homes or the families of veterans. They sponsored a 100th anniversary for the American Legion 2 years ago, which was really very well attended here at Town Hall. They sponsored here at Town Hall also 50th anniversary of the Vietnam era veterans, was it back in March, and they expect another one of those celebrations this coming September. They've also had a disabled vets seminar hosted here at the Town Hall. They've also had several visits to their office and to this Town Hall for Veterans Matters by Senators Dick Blumenthal, U.S. Representative Joe Courtney, and Connecticut VA Commissioner John Soddy. And nothing but great remarks from them. And it just might be helpful to me just to read something that just really describes the kind of work that this office presents to the public, because most of us don't really understand what they do. We're not recipients of their services, and I think it really says it most if you hear it from an individual who, this is a person, her name is Dee Thibodeau, and her husband Roger attended a disabled veterans seminar a couple of months ago. And she says that after the seminar they reached out to Dave McCaffrey and made an appointment with Dave and Sherry to get information and assistance in obtaining benefits that Roger, the veteran, what he would be entitled to. She says, I must say at our 2.5-hour meeting we were given not only a wealth of knowledge of VA benefits, but they facilitated Roger in obtaining a Veterans Administration ID card and assisted in his enrollment in the VA healthcare system, which is of course a federal system, but it's also local here in Connecticut, as Roger is recently 20% disabled. They also gave us precise direction for Roger to obtain hearing aids through the VA. During our meeting with David and Sherry made sure that we were getting the veterans benefits on our property tax, notified the DMV to have an American flag placed on Roger's driver's license upon its next renewal, and the importance of having an annual exam with a primary care physician through the Veterans Administration. These are just a few of the things that they accomplished during our meeting that will be life-changing for us. They also advised Roger that he is eligible for the Vietnam War lapel pin and a commendation to be held at the September 29th ceremony scheduled here at Town Hall for Vietnam-era vets. She said, we walked into the office quite sheepishly, seeking direction, and came out so empowered and full of pride. They made us feel so proud and worthy of Roger's veteran status. I believe they are two of the most unselfish and caring human beings who love their appointments as director and deputy director of our town VA department. Helping veterans is their priority, and it truly shows. And I know from my experience that the key to veterans services and benefits is to have an advocate, and we are lucky to have Dave and Sherry as advocates here in Town Hall. So, congratulations. So again, that's the Robert P. Perkowski Community Service Award, and we'll have a reception and let's follow up at a later date. We'll check with Kim LaFleur on that.
Yep. I'll take care of it.
Next award we wanted to present as a Board of Selectmen, again unanimously supporting the Adolph P. Anderson Quality Employee Award. This award is, Adolph Anderson served 37 years as a superintendent of public works, provided many long hours of quality service to the citizens of Somers, while ensuring that the roads remained clear of snow, parks remained open for recreation, and that all public works projects were completed in a quality manner. The award is presented annually by the Board of Selectmen, except for the last 3 years, to a deserving town employee who has provided high quality, passionate, and unselfish service to all citizens throughout our town of Somers. And this year, we as a group decided that we would present the award to Department of Public Works Director Todd Rowland. And a little bit of background on Todd. He's been with the town now for 13 years. He started off as a highway foreman, then became Deputy Director of Public Works, and then Director of Public Works about 8 years ago. These are just some of I just wanted to mention some of the things that he is responsible for, because it is really overwhelming, and it's amazing that he can accomplish this. And by the way, he puts in about 50 to 55 hours of work a week to do his job, which he gets paid $30 for 35 hours. He attends boards and commission meetings, include Board of Selectmen, CIP Committee, EPAC, Town Liaison to Open Space and Trails Committee, Recreation Committee, Water Pollution Control Authority meetings, attends Board of Finance when needed, attends Board of Education when needed, Cemetery Committee, present at the Conservation Committee meetings as needed. He also, it's just amazing how stuff he's responsible for. He has to draft a monthly update to the Board of Selectmen, drafts monthly fuel reports, administers work orders for each of his divisions, tracks and approves staff time off requests. In the Highway Department, he supports highway foremen in all areas of administrative work, plans their annual work schedule, approves contracts for outside vendors for all road work here in town. As to parks, he plans their annual work. On the facility side, he approves contracts for outside vendors for facilities work. He bids out and manages vendors for cleaning, HVAC, generator services, lot line stripping, septic tank cleaning, electrical, plumbing, repairs, etc. As to the transfer station, which everybody finds is a very valuable asset in this town. That's right. We know that this will perk up the ears of people listening to us. We're not cutting back the hours, no matter what you hear. This group is too smart for that.
Very nice.
Transfer station, he manages the staff and customer requests, of which of course there are many frequent of those. Purchase the annual permits and all printed materials, ensures compliance with all state and federal solid waste regulations. On the fleet side, this is all the town vehicles. He manages the mechanics of keeping them in play, implements a new fleet management, is implementing a new fleet management system. He assigns drivers routes for winter operations. As a tree warden, he manages tree service vendors for work on town roads and properties, schedules tree work and cleanup. And emergency management, again, he's the Deputy Emergency Management Director for the town. He plans for and manages emergency management and storm response, which is a very significant responsibility. He's a member and trainer of the summer's CERT team, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, made up of volunteers. He participates in the Capital Region's Emergency Management Planning Council, manages Eversource's municipal portal during incidents, and manages shelter supplies for emergency response. Winter operations, he plans and sets all winter operation routes, orders salt and materials, ensures staff are properly trained in green snow pro, add new application for our roads. He inspects roads at 3 a.m. throughout the winter. Who's awake at 3 a.m.? Besides Todd. Anybody else want to raise their hand?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Well, that's coming up. That's an hour later. That's an hour later. He communicates with the superintendent of schools by 4 a.m.
By 4 a.m.
Yeah.
He gets to sleep extra, at least extra half hour.
Do you think the superintendent is sleeping?
And he makes recommendations on school closings and delays. And so, again, Todd is truly an outstanding employee, and certainly above and beyond what would be expected of someone like him. And we're proud as a board to present you with the Adolph P. Anderson Quality Employee Award.
Very nice. Good stuff.
So next on our agenda is the consent agenda, boards and commissions, appointments, resignations. I don't think we have any there. Do we have anything? No. An opportunity to add urgent items. I would like to add 3 items and have Stephanie Levin introduce them, if you could, please.
Sure. So I had requested, as the town knows, we were informed that we should go out and get some information about HVAC, and we had an HVAC study done in the spring, and that led to us wanting to move forward with an HVAC.
Could you use a microphone? Is that possible?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. Just
Yeah, you can.
yeah, that would be better. Thank you. Yes,
So
this is Stephanie Levin, again, the Director of Business Services at the Summer School System.
So we did go out and we did put out an RFQ for qualifications on HVAC firms to do the design study, and we got 4 interested vendors to come in. The building committee, in quotes, because it was a group of about 4 or 5 of us, did interview 2 of the submittals that we felt were qualified to provide us design, and we did select one, and we do come to the Board of Selectmen with a recommendation to hire CES. Another reason for coming to the Board of Selectmen tonight is when you apply for an Office of School Construction grant, there are certain formalities that must be done by the legislative body, which would be the Board of Selectmen. Those requirements are that you resolve to have these 3 things, where you tell us that we can go ahead and apply for a grant if one becomes available, that we can have a building committee to do the project, and also that we can move forward with a schematic design and specifications. So that's why I'm here tonight, is to have the Board of Selectmen vote on those things, so that we can then go to the Board of Finance for proposed funding.
And when do you plan on doing that?
Whenever meeting is.
Hopefully the end of July, yes, at the regular meeting.
Right. Okay, does somebody want to, make a motion to,
So I make a motion to add to our agenda tonight, the item of discussion and possible action on Summers Public Schools, HVAC project.
second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so I see the three proposed motions, we can act on those in a minute, I guess, from a town perspective, I mean, there's obviously funding that's gonna come along with this, I mean, they're not gonna cover 100%, what's our reimbursement rate?
It's pretty low, I think 22%? Is it even that much? Might be 19.
It changes,
It changes based
every,
on, yeah.
every once in a while.
And, right now, I don't believe that HVAC technically is considered under the Office of School Construction unless you're building or renovating a building, a school building. However, the governor has come out and said that there will be funding made available to the Office of School Construction in the fall, anywhere from 90 to 150 million, I think was the last, number that I heard. There's nothing to say that Summers will see any of that money. 150 million does not go very far in
Big
school
communities,
construction.
right.
Right. We are not the only community that is looking to do HVAC. But I'm trying to be proactive in making sure that we are in the best position possible to submit a grant proposal to the state for reimbursement.
Right.
I don't wanna be 6 months behind the 8 ball on doing these things and kind of backtracking things.
Right, it's definitely a competitive process, but
Right.
because of COVID, the issue of HVAC and air quality in schools has become a much higher priority for everybody.
Right, correct.
So we're hopeful that there may be some, benefit to applying for state assistance.
Yes.
No, I think you're doing the right thing here, I mean, I support these motions, I think that it's gonna be a separate conversation though, I mean, if our reimbursement rate is so low, do we wanna go after, but again, we're still early, we need to see what the costs, I mean, I know we
Right.
have some opinions of probable cost and things, but I mean, it's gonna be expensive, you know,
Absolutely.
and 22% is not a lot,
It is not.
yeah.
But what are you saying, that it may not be beneficial to go after 22% because of the time it takes to apply, or what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying in general, I mean, I think the question would be, would we do all three schools, you know, would maybe we
Oh,
just
you're
do
talking
one
about
school?
what we spend, I thought you were talking
what
about
we spend.
going after the state.
No, I think like I said, I think these motions are right, I mean, I think we're doing the right thing going after it, but, I
Right.
mean, some districts, their reimbursement rates are 70%, you know, I think in that case,
Right.
70% is a lot more beneficial than 22%.
But 22% is better than zero.
We
It's
may
better
not
than
get a
zero.
priority.
That's, yes.
We may, the money may
No.
run out before.
Yeah, that's another
So,
reason
but
why
I
it's
absolutely
helpful
think
to get
that-
started sooner than later.
Correct.
Yeah, but no, you're doing the right thing, I mean, being proactive, and I think this is a good step. Now, the building committee, who would comprise the building committee?
That was Todd Rowland, myself, Jim McFeet, Paul Bahanowitz, and, Mike Briggs from the Board of Ed.
So it's the existing committee,
That is the existing, yes.
but I mean, we're forming a new committee, but the new
Yeah, we're just
committee will be the
formalizing it. It would be
existing
the
committee.
same,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
We're just formalizing it.
Okay, we should probably then also appoint those members, I would assume?
No, it's the Board of Ed, it's a Board of Ed committee.
Well, we're authorizing it to be.
You have to
You're
authorize it
authorizing
because
that
the
we
state is
can create
requiring
one.
the administrative body of the town to do it, and not the Board of Ed. But the Board of Ed has their own building committee, they oversaw our last lawn, and they're overseeing the construction of everything there now.
so we're authorizing an existing committee.
So they wanna make sure that there is the schools have a
A
building
committee that meets.
committee,
Yeah.
and they do, appointed by the Board of Ed.
And
Typically, the
They
town though
report.
would oversee a project, the school construction project, I mean, we would issue the bid, if it's gonna receive state funding, you know, or if it's a school construction project.
It's a hand-in-hand thing,
Yeah.
but that is not a town committee, and the Board of
Okay.
Selectmen have no say as to who gets appointed to it.
Well, I don't know
Okay.
if that's accurate, but, yeah, I mean, okay, I'll make a motion then that, should we do them one at a time, do you think, or? the
we
motions?
could do them all three together, there's no reason not.
Okay, I'd make a motion, the Board of Selectmen pass the following resolutions. Resolution 1, resolve the Summers Board of Selectmen authorizes the Summers Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services to accept or reject a grant for the Summers Public School HVAC project at the Summers Elementary School, the Maple B. Avery School, and the Summers High School. Resolution number 2, resolved that the Summers HVAC Building Committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the Summers Public Schools HVAC project at the Summers Elementary School, the Maple B. Avery School, and the Summers High School. And resolution 3, resolved that the Summers Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the Summers Public School HVAC project at the Summers Elementary School, the Maple B. Avery School, and the Summers High School.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations for the quick reading of that was awesome, yeah. All right, next on our agenda, under finance, we have transfers and appropriations. Do we have any this evening?
We do not have any this evening.
Okay. Request for separation payouts, payment payouts.
So we have 2 of these. For background, we did establish a separation payout fund in prior years. This fund was specifically set up to pay out employees for any unused sick and vacation time. You guys have voted to change that effective 7/1/22 for new hires. These are not new hires though. The first one is Patrick Mulcahy. Officer Mulcahy, as of 7/1/22, moved from full-time to part-time officer status. Per the employee handbook, section 7.5B, part-time employees can only accrue a maximum of 36 days of leave, which would be equivalent to 240 hours. As of June 30th, Officer Mulcahy had 453.75 hours of sick time on the books. So I'm requesting that we pay the difference to reduce his balance down to the 240 hours. That equates to $6,895.58.
We can do them both together?
You wanna do them both together?
Yeah, we can do
What's
them.
the second one?
So the second one is for Matthew Putnam. Matthew resigned effective June 23rd, 2022. His balances as of that date are attached to the back. His payout amount would be $1,550. As of 7/1, the separation payout fund had a available balance of $18,363, and these two combined are about just under $8,400 of total payout. So we have more than enough in the fund to cover these 2 payments.
And Matthew Putnam's been with us about, what, a year and a half?
He was with us right at a year and a half,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right.
So we need I'd like to propose a motion for a separation payout request for Patrick Mulcahy for $6,895.58, and one for Matthew Putnam for $1,550.
I'll second that.
Then you would also, in that motion, you would authorize me to sign the separation payout.
Okay, and we'll authorize First Selectman Keeney to sign these separations.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Sign those later. Okay, next on our agenda. Yeah, CFO finance report updates.
Brian will update you on that.
I've got a handful of items for you. The first one is our fiscal year 2022 books have been closed. We have a handful of remaining accounts payable to process. We anticipate they will all be completed by 7/21. The latest will be your 8/4 meeting, and all payables at that time will be closed for fiscal 22, and we will officially, all payments will start moving into fiscal 23 at that point.
Is there a handout for this, by the way?
There is not, no.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Speaking with Stephanie Levin before the meeting, the schools are plus or minus 10,000, for their return to fund balance. Last meeting, we had reported to you a return total of about 785,000. That number's still, pretty solid, pretty accurate number, including the return from the schools. Fiscal 22 end-of-year transfers are beginning. I'll be working with Danielle next week, training her on the process of how my brain works to take all of those accounts and balance them in our process and procedure. We will have the first round of them emailed out to you next week, so that you can review them and approve them, or potentially approve them at your 7/21 meeting. I won't be present for that, so if you have any questions when I email them out to you, feel free to email me and I can answer any of the questions that you should have, but I'll be on vacation the week of that meeting.
What week is that?
The 18th through the 21st.
Okay.
I'm on vacation.
Brian, what, the breakdown, from the excess fund balance, or the return to fund balance?
Yes.
What was from savings from expenditures?
120, 140,000, give or take.
So almost all of it though was from excess
Revenue,
So it wasn't
absolutely.
through efficiencies or cost savings or people not spending money?
No, I mean, we saved, less than 1% of our budget,
It was all extra revenue, most of it being that extra Pequot or the half a million?
extra,
Pilot.
pilot money,
Pilot.
extra pilot money, yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
okay, thank you.
The IT Governance Committee met yesterday. It was a very good and productive meeting. There are currently multiple projects running in parallel with each other. The police body camera project is 90 to 95% complete. I think there's a couple of little tweaks. There was one issue with a camera in the car. But other than that, that one should be up and running any day now at 100%. And we are in the early stages of the transition to Office 365. Suzer IT is anticipating that we should be live on that by October 1st. We have also been communicating back and forth on the fiscal 23 computer replacement program, and exactly which computers need to be replaced and which ones will be replaced. We hope to have actual list finalized in the next couple of weeks and can actually pull the trigger on ordering and beginning that process. And the last thing that came out of that meeting was the need to develop a policy on multi-factor authentication usage. Suzer IT has given us a couple of different options, but rather than leaving it wide open and everybody gets a choice, IT Governance thinks that the Board of Selectmen should make it, this is the mode we're going to use and make it part of a policy for all town employees.
Makes sense to me.
We would probably end up molding that either into the employee handbook or into job descriptions as well, one of the two. And then the last thing, the chief and I met today, hammering out final ambulance cost numbers after the meeting that we had with the town of Stafford. We have a pretty solid rough draft that we will be sending out to you guys next week, so that you can review all of the information. And we have a couple of different proposals, and we'll be looking for feedback on any questions or feedback you have before the July 28th meeting with Stafford.
Sounds good.
That's our next Board of Selectmen meeting after tonight.
No, you have the
We have
21st and
21st
then
and
the
the
28th, you have
28th.
the special meeting with
We
Stafford.
have two public hearings, that day too.
Right, that's right. Okay. Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have the payment authorization. Scheduled payments.
Yeah.
I reviewed them myself and when I reviewed them with Brian, got all my questions answered. Does anybody else have any questions?
No, they were fine.
Okay.
You want me to make a motion
please, that'd be
payment
great,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, we'll make a motion for a payment authorization of $239,290.62.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, thank you. New business,
You wanna sign it?
oh yeah, right, yeah, sure. Oh, we need some cover sheets. Yeah, keep that.
Just stay here.
And just say that. Put your comments back. Thank you.
Okay. Next, under new business, we have a staffing request from the Department of Public Works.
For the record, Todd Rowland, Director of Public Works. We're requesting the Board of Selectmen approve the hiring of Kyle Young to fill our open maintainer position in the Parks and Facilities Division. When our former maintainer left us in April, we posted the ad. We also reached out to all of our current seasonal employees that work for snow, plowing snow and working in the park. We had 14 applications this go-around. Of those, we rejected 6 for lack of relevant experience. We requested interviews of the remaining 8. Of the 8, 1 withdrew their application because they had another offer. We conducted first-round in-person interviews of the remaining 7, asked a series of questions. At the conclusion of that interview, we eliminated 3 for lack of experience, poor responses to our questions, and health concerns in one case. We scheduled an operator skill test, which is driving a dump truck and operating a bucket loader and filling the dump truck. And then our mechanic, who's also a trainer for New England Tractor, took these individuals out on the road to evaluate their skills in driving. And the parks foreman was evaluating their skills in operating equipment. At the conclusion of that, we scheduled an operator skill test. We scheduled a skills test. One of those applicants withdrew their application due to an injury. So the remaining candidates, we conducted the 50 questions written skills test. All of the candidates actually scored quite well.
Yeah,
They all
3
passed.
left after that?
Yeah, they would boil down to 3. They did the 50 questions. They all passed. They all scored pretty well within each other, and they're all very high quality candidates. And it really came down to who we thought would be the best fit for the park in particular, which is really what this position focuses on. And who was likely to stay with us and grow with the department. And Kyle Young was the candidate chosen. He has worked for us plowing snow. He also does part-time work at the park and already is in the operation. The guys like him. He follows directions well. He's extraordinarily motivated to come and work here. So we think he'll be a good fit, and requesting the Board of Selectmen approve his application.
Right. Need a motion to,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to hire Kyle Young for the position of Parks Facilities Maintainer.
at $22 an hour?
At $22 an hour. So the start date of July 18th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you.
you.
Discussion and action on a part-time land use technician job. Land use director Dan Parisi, assisted by zoning enforcement officer Jen Roy.
Dan Parisi, land use director. Jen and I went through the job description for the land use technician. We revised it to go part-time for up to 20 hours underneath us, and we took out a few items out of the.
Jen, you want to sit at the table? You can sit right here, Jen, if you want.
Yeah.
Drag up an extra chair.
Yeah, absolutely. He left
Dan Parisi, Land Use Director, and
Jennifer Roy, zoning.
so we put together a revised, land use technician for the land use, department. Part-time, we went with, the salary was gonna be $20 to $25 an hour, depending on their experience. We went through, the position summary pretty much stayed the same. Under the examples of duties, we had taken out the one that it says assist, town engineer with office and field duties, assist with the preparation plans and cost estimates relating to town infrastructure projects. And we are editing, we edited the wording to the land use director on that part of it. We kept the assist with the town master plan preparation updating, assist the sanitary and building inspector, wetlands officer, enforcement officer with daily department operations, and maintains town records. Going down to the required knowledge and skills, we had taken out the knowledge of computerized software programs such as e-government, permit system, GIS mapping, databases, word processing, spreadsheets, and electronic mail. They went and edited to proper software type, what the town is gonna be using now. With the Permit Link is our online permitting system. And we took out the knowledge of regulatory enforcement principles and procedures, including investigation and inspection techniques. We kept in the ability to effectively communicate orally and in writing, ability to read and interpret engineering and architectural drawings and specs, able to establish and maintain appropriate working relationships with public officials, employees, property owners, and representatives in their government.
I guess the main question I have is, why do you think you need this person with regards to your workload in the office and how you relate to each other, and the new land use office with you in charge?
Okay. This is my third week here, so I'm gonna have Jen respond to that.
Okay, so obviously, I think all three of you are aware of a little bit of the history where we had Jeff, the town director, Jeff Ford, the sanitarian, a building official, and myself. When I came on almost close to 8 years ago, we had, full-time building official. In the past few years, since Jeff Ford's retirement, we needed another person in the office to help with these general things that Dan just listed. And Matthew had GIS experience, which, with working with Todd Rowland, we figured that would fill some of his time as well.
Well, it wasn't because he retired, they decided not to fill the land use director position.
No, we couldn't find someone.
Well, but then instead they eliminated the land use director position and they created a new position.
Basically.
That's what they did, yeah.
Basically due to
the workload of the office.
But, also
But it's
due to the
because they
availability
eliminated a position though, so they eliminated the director position and they added a new position.
Well, I don't know the background of if it was voted on, like, let's eliminate as the director of land use. I don't follow all of the Board of Selectmen meetings, so I'm not sure how that transpired if they said, let's eliminate the director. I know from my end of involvement, it was, the availability of hires, the pool of people, applicants. I proposed in speaking with Dan and Tim that perhaps part-time would be sufficient to help us. Listing the responsibilities here, in the past few years before John Collins, the building official's termination, his assistance at the counter with customers deteriorated over the past several years before he was terminated. So prior to Matthew, I handled zoning enforcement, zoning commissions, and all of those other duties that are listed, assisting contractors and residents at the counter taking in permits. So with the changes, we have online permitting, I think that will help eliminate some of the, workload on, a permit technician or land use technician. I think on the flip side of it, we do not have a building official on a regular basis in our office.
21 hours a week, right?
Right, who can assist at the counter. So in general, all of that basically falls back on me for the majority. Both Dan and Andrea are proactive in learning the customer service end of it, but I think in general, a 20-hour position would help us keep the customer service level that our residents and contractors are used to. I don't think that it's a full-time position that needs to be, but I think part-time is definitely.
What do you expect the annual cost to be? Estimate.
Did we put that, write that down? I think 36, based on.
Well, at the original for Matthew was 35 hours a week. It ended up to 36,000 to 40,000.
Right.
So if we did just 20 hours a week, we didn't figure that one out. It would be
30,000 or less.
Yeah, it'd be 20,000 less of what is already budgeted for the budget for fiscal year 23.
Brian's got the figures, so what would be?
If it was a top tier pay, the 25 an hour,
Yeah.
20 hours a week, it would be a $26,000 salary for the year. And it was budgeted at 36,400.
Oh, I'm not sure if we made copies of this. I could hand it for review.
I didn't get that.
This shows a 5-year, salary range for the
That would be
complete
helpful to
land
have.
use office. I could, if you wanna.
Sure.
Yep.
So I guess my questions, that was all you had, right? Sorry. That was all
Well,
you-
for now.
Okay.
Yeah, for now. That's our presentation, basically,
So Dan, I know you're brand new.
Yep.
I mean, so I think where I'm at, I wanna see a plan for the office. And again, I know you're brand new, so I think the reason we hired you, the reason we brought you in is to come up with a plan for the office.
Yep.
We don't have a plan right now,
What do you mean by plan for the office?
well, I mean.
Be a little more.
I think we need to make sure that the roles are defined, to make sure every position as defined has a full-time job. I mean, I don't know that that's the case right now, that, I think that,
I mean, like, for instance, Andrea Bertrana, you don't think that she has a full-time job?
no, I don't.
Well, she keeps pretty busy, I
Okay,
know
well,
that.
just because someone
And
looks
she-
busy doesn't
and
mean
she
that there's a
also
workload for a full-time job.
seems to respond well to the customers and gets the job done.
I'm not saying she's not a good worker, it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with, is there 35 hours worth of work in summers for a sanitarian? I don't think there is. And I've talked to a lot of people, including the prior incumbent, who have told me there's not, a full-time job there for a sanitarian. So I think that, all the jobs in general, I think we just need to look at, what's the job for the land use director? What is that person's job? I don't know that it's clearly defined. I know there's a job description and things, but where the rubber hits the road, I don't know if I fully understand. I don't think we've seen this new permit software. I commend you, you've done a great job with that.
Right, well, Matthew resigned the week that it rolled out, and I came back from vacation, so, I've been kind of doing a juggling act. I think it's going okay, and we ironed out the online payments, so that will help.
I use it as well, and I like it. I think it's
So,
great.
aside from not being an expert, if I could just interject.
Yeah.
Land use is a department, it's one department. And so you look at it and you say, okay, so you have 5 employees, 3 are full-time, 2 are part-time. Well, but we each have a position in land use, similar to finance has tax assessor, tax collector. So we have, sanitarian, she does the health department work. The building official does the building work.
But I guess my question is though, Jen, so if you're here for 35 hours, but you have 25 hours a week worth of work, what do you do for the other 10 hours?
Well, I think ebbs and flows though, Bill. I don't
Yeah.
think that any of us have 25 hours of work. I think.
Well, no one would ever admit that, but I think if you do a workload analysis, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I've looked at the numbers, like, I don't
Yeah.
see full-time jobs for every.
Well, I'm not sure you can gauge workload analysis completely. For example, today, I went to lunch at 1:15, and by the time I got back, there's people waiting at the counter, and they needed help, and then I had 6 or 7 voicemails that I had to call back, and each thing, one person wanted to know about, you know, what's a home, occupation, so I would have to call them and talk about zoning things, and then 2 or 3 others needed to schedule inspections. A land use technician would field those phone calls, so in the midst of me answering zoning questions, I had to then call back 2 or 3 people just to schedule, you know, building inspections, permit inspections for roofing or a pier hole, so it's not necessarily cut and dry, as I'm sure any
No, it's not.
department.
But that's why we need a plan. I think, to my point, that
definitely
we need a plan.
right.
That would give us the plan, you know, this is the job, this is the workload, these are the numbers behind it, we don't have that right
But given
now.
our current situation with, not having a full-time or a permanent building official in the office, I think it's a conservative request to ask for a part-time person 20 hours a week. I go on vacation, you know, the 3rd week of August, then you're gonna have Andrea and Dan. If Dan's gotta go out for an emergency at the sewer plant, Andrea has to go out and inspect a new septic system that's going in, or a septic repair. What do? Who's in the office? We've never put a sign up and said, we're closed, we'll be back in an hour.
Well, do we have another office? I mean, I'm thinking of a DMV model, you know, where you have like kind of the general desk you walk into, and they can help you with probably 90% of the things.
That's why we're asking for
No, but I'm saying town hall in general. So you have the tax collector's office, you have the assessor's office, you have the first selectman, you have the town clerk, you have the land use. I mean, why is it silos? I mean, why can't someone in the assessor's office help out if land use isn't there?
They don't know anything about land use, that's why.
Well, they're not gonna approve the prints on the counter, but, you know, we're also, I mean, if someone walks in with the expectation that they're gonna get, you know, their prints approved on the spot, not gonna happen. They're gonna say, you know, thank you, sir, we're gonna take down your information, you know, did you know you can apply online for your permit? Here's the information, we'll apply online, someone will get right back to you.
The assessors have their own work that they have to take care of, other than
I'm
having.
using it as an example.
No, but other than
They
having.
want to pay their taxes, I don't know, I can't say, okay, give me $453. Someone can't come in to the tax office, say, I'm not trying to be a perv, or
Yeah.
flip it. Or if someone comes in and says, well, I applied for a permit to build a house, I need to pay the fee, cause I don't use a credit card, I don't wanna do it online. Well, I mean.
Why can't
Legal
someone else
Matters
take the
not
fee?
gonna-
Why couldn't, for instance, Kim take a fee for a building permit?
Because it's in a program that I log into and I look and I verify, okay, you applied properly, your fees were such, it's kind of individual to each department.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, I don't see why we can't cross-train. I mean, I'm not saying that right now it's the solution. I mean, I know what you're talking about, we kinda need a stopgap.
Yeah.
But I think wholesale, you know, what do small towns do? What's Woodstock do? What do, you know, Union do? I mean, you got people wearing a lot of hats.
Union doesn't do anything.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, you know, there's a lot of towns though, you know, where we can look at other models for a small town. You know, we're not the city of Hartford, we're not the.
But we're not union either.
But, you know, you can have written instructions for
understand
people.
cross-
Also,
You
we've
know,
had a lot
I
of
agree with that.
experience in this office, and
Right,
we have a pretty good idea of what the workflow is.
You know, it's interesting, just in my observation of Andrea, every time, a lot of times I come here, and she's going somewhere, and she's a busy bee. And, you know, so in terms of her time, I mean, it seems like every time I come here, she's going somewhere. And
I mean,
so
I think our
she's-
department is pretty active.
And that's what I'm saying, is it just, from my personal observations and seeing people, I don't see anybody just sitting around, you know, doing little. And they seem to be being quite, and it seems like you guys pick up for one another when somebody needs this and somebody else comes in and helps out, you know, if something's needed. And that's what you seem to be describing.
Right.
If somebody's not there, then somebody else is gonna have the skill set to, you know, to pick up where, right?
Definitely among the 3 of us cross-trained, although I'm not gonna be able to tell somebody septic information.
No, but I mean,
Um,
you can at least answer questions to the
But
point.
food service, temporary permits for the
Right,
fair and things like that,
right.
in general, we've always supported each other with that.
And you know, to me as a private citizen, when I come in there, that's what I'm looking for, is somebody at least to help me to that point. If I don't get an immediate answer, at least I'm gonna get, well, come back at this time when so-and-so's there, and then you will get the answer, or email them or call them or something like that when they are back in the office. So I really do think this is important to have this extra person in there to help you guys in that type of situation. I like the idea that you reduce them to part-time.
I
and then-
definitely don't think it's a 35 an hour,
Yeah,
No,
and
it's
then,
not.
week
yeah.
position.
It's definitely not.
But I
Yeah.
I'm equally definitely feel that
Yeah.
20 hours a week, you know, is a conservative request. Once or twice a year, if we need it for vacation coverage, maybe work,
Yeah.
25 or 35 if needed, but I don't really see that that's gonna happen
No.
many times in
No.
a year.
I mean, it seems like to me, I mean, to the comment that was made about experience in the office, we have no experience in the office right now. You're the senior person by far.
She's the
next
experience.
senior, the senior person, I mean, you have someone that's been there 6 months, you have someone that's been there as a temporary contractor employee who's been there 3 months, and someone that started 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, that's the office, as far as knowing summers.
Building
there's-
inspectors are very experienced.
Well, experience in his job, but not experience in the function of the office.
I think they're all
Other than
experienced in
Jen.
their job, I think they're all
Yeah.
experienced in their own jobs.
Yeah.
and
But very
and,
new to
you
the
know,
office.
Right.
Very new to the flow.
Well, we don't
very
expect the
new
building
to-
inspectors to be responding to these other issues when the
They've
public comes in.
attempted to help me, but they're kind of constrained to their time. Again, both Dan and Andrea, I mean, Andrea's trying to make sure that she's, you know, informed about setbacks for a pool or a shed for under zoning, so that if I'm out, or if I get called for an inspection, we also all go out in the field for doing inspections. This person would at least be a solid person there, okay, if we know they're working 10 to 2 or whatever it works out to be for
Yeah.
hours, 10 to 2, well then, you know, my inspections can be a little more flexible than Andrea, if they have the whole
Doesn't have
dug and they need to backfill.
Okay, so here's where I'm at. So I think, number one, we need a plan. I think everyone here agrees on that. What do you think for a time frame to make a plan? I mean, you think in October, November? I mean, I think you'd
You
have.
know what
at
he's
least
talking
initial-
about when he says a plan? I mean, I'm
No,
not sure we
you
understand
explain what
what's
you-
being asked for here.
What is land use in summers?
Okay.
So number one, what's land use? Okay. And number two, what's the role of each person? You know, what level of service do we provide? You know,
want job
processes?
description? You want a job description for each person?
Well, there already
We
is
got those.
jobs.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
have, but I don't know
description.
that it's all, I don't know that it's as straightforward as.
Just a list of duties for each person?
Well,
would
Not,
that be
I mean, I
helpful?
think,
I mean, short of, again, I'm not trying, I'm not sure how to express this. Short of me tallying every phone call and every counter help, is like, it would be pretty intensive for us to describe what we do every day, and it
Right.
changes every day, and it's different scenarios, or I wanna buy this property, and I wanna divide this property,
Or
like,
research,
there's
yeah.
those.
Every day is
There's a lot
different,
more involved,
yeah.
I mean, I get you want an
Yeah.
outline, okay, who does what, and we could probably give you a general outline of each position, and, you know, but to validate my 35 hours a week,
Well, the way I look at
I
it,
don't know
this is
how
all,
to do
this is
that.
all about public service, providing
Yeah.
services the public expects and
Right.
should
Right.
receive,
Right.
and can we afford it? I mean, that's what it comes down to. We're not talking about paying people that don't need to get paid because they only have 25 hours of work and they're here 35 hours a week. I mean,
Can I just interject there? I'm glad I'm not Dan walking into this because he seriously needs, I think, at least a 6-month period to sit there and to understand what's
Yeah.
going on in his department. Now, with that knowledge, I think we should be able to expect a plan from him at that point, because he's gonna have a feel for it, he's gonna look at his statistics, he's gonna figure out what kind of volumes he has, he's gonna get an idea what the impact of automated, permitting is. He's gonna look at, he's gonna have 6 months worth of statistics that these are where the people go to during the day, they travel, they're not always in the office, we may need coverage. So I would give the man a chance to come up with this kind of stuff, so.
well, I asked how long we think we need, so if we think
Yeah.
6 months isn't good, I mean,
think October's way too soon.
well, then let's come
Well,
back in
yeah,
January.
do you think that's is that
Yeah.
adequate time? Is that fair?
6 months, thank you,
So
Michael.
January of 23.
Yes.
We'll do early January
so we're not gonna
23.
decide on that.
But we need to wait
January,
6 months before we can hire a
No,
person.
I didn't say that.
No, we
That's not
never,
what
I don't
said.
think we ever said that.
I never said that.
I don't think we
All right,
ever.
well,
I'm just
No,
asking.
I'm just saying that I think, you know, this is kind of an interim measure until we can come up with a long-term plan. I mean, we gotta see the impact of the online permitting system, I wanna see how much it decreases people
Sure.
coming in, I would expect it's
Sure.
gonna increase a lot. Can we get information on our website more, you know, FAQs, so people don't have to come in? more information, commonly asked questions. I mean, I would imagine a lot of the permits, it's a lot of the same questions. Now, yes, there's some technical stuff, easement, or, whatever, but I would imagine probably 70% of it is people ask the same questions,
I mean, I agree that that is gonna go down. I mean, another example that we had discussed in our meeting with Tim is, when coming up with this half, part-time, like, there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now. Monday, I have a deposition prep meeting with Carl Andalina and our perma attorney, so that's gonna take me away from the office for a couple of hours. Then Wednesday, I have to do a deposition, we're being sued by about
You gotta,
3 or 4 different lawsuits going on in zoning alone.
No, it's a problem. I mean, that's a
So,
problem, and we need to, I mean, that's part of the
So
plan.
I see an urgency with having at least some sort of support staff part of the time.
I wanna set the office up for success, and I also wanna serve the public, but at the same time, we can't have the business as usual, someone leaves, someone comes in, and yeah, I know you're cutting the hours, but I mean, how did the office function before we had this person? We had the same number of staff.
we had
without-
John Collins
You had
working
full-time people
28
at-
hours
Yeah, John
a
was
week.
28
So that was
hours.
14 more hours, or 20, so 7 more hours, so we're paying Glenn for 21, John
Right.
did 28, so you
Right.
had 7 more hours.
Well,
So how did we function with the
So-
same number of people without online permitting?
No, but we had this guy, we had Matthew left, cause he
so
was
early
there
on,
too.
well, before Matthew.
Oh, okay.
Well, Matthew's a
Yeah,
new
we had
position.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I mean, early on, John was a lot more helpful at the counter with me, with the people, and that deteriorated, like I said. And additionally, Glenn is doing, I know that we're on live, Glenn is doing a much more thorough building official job than John did, especially towards
Well,
the
that's
end. So
no
it was
surprise.
multifaceted. When I first started here, and it was just the 4 of us,
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Steve, John, and myself,
But-
I don't really know how else to
Yeah,
articulate
we're on the
that.
same page, and
yeah,
that's part of
yeah.
the plan,
Yeah.
so is this arrangement with another town feasible long-term, or do we need to really aggressively find our
Well,
own building official?
I
That's
think
part of
that-
the plan.
I think it's working
You
great.
know?
I think they do the building official
Yeah.
things, and they're self-sufficient, and,
Yeah.
and they don't rely on me for things that John did rely on me for. And I think when I took in permits before, there wasn't the volume of zoning issues that we, for some reason, have had in the last couple of years. So, granted, yeah, the online permitting, there's gonna be a lot less foot traffic, but we still want a face in the department. I don't wanna do what Vernon does and say you can only apply online. I don't want, we just had a woman today, she's probably 70, she came in to apply for a pool. I don't wanna tell her you have to apply online.
She probably couldn't.
Right.
I'm serious, there's a
Right.
lot of
Some
people in
towns do
town
that.
that do not have the
Yeah.
computer skills, and they
Some
need to
towns-
talk to
yeah.
somebody in person. It's a real problem.
So I think with the type of town, Summers is a small town, and I get what you're saying, it's not as much
Yeah.
traffic. On the flip side of it, it's a small town, there's a lot of people that have been here for a while, that they like the small town feel, and they're like, I'm gonna come in and talk to you. You get the
Yeah.
people, but even Jeff Lipton, he's gonna come in and talk to me. Other contractors, they tell us, I'm gonna give you this, I don't wanna go online, I wanna come in and see you and give you this, so, it's tough to gauge how it's gonna,
Well, I can tell you, we had a building
Turn
inspector was
out.
in my house this week, night and day. Night and day. I could not believe how efficient, and every time, any question I had, and, we met with the electrician, we went over things, it was just absolutely amazing at
Yeah.
the difference before than what we have now. So I think there have been some improvements, and I think 6 months is a good time to see how these
Sure.
things go
Yeah.
and things evolve. So I don't know if we're gonna come up with those answers overnight. So I think we should approve the description here, for this position, and then give you 6 months to assess things, and then hopefully at that time you'll be able to give us a report, once you have got your feet on the ground.
Yeah, I can do that.
And Bob, I'm fine with that.
So is there,
I'm
is there
fine with
some
that.
so-called plan we can look at to understand what a plan needs to include? So that we don't go back and forth and say, hey, you say this is a plan, but it doesn't have this in it, and what about that? I mean, is there some expectation that we can understand to know what needs to go into this workflow?
Well, I said we're gonna meet in a few weeks, I wanna meet with you anyway, I mean, I can share some things with you, I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of, basic management function, planning, department improvement plans, you come up with goals, metrics, things like that, how do you measure it, what's the data behind it? I mean, there's a lot of good templates out there, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's recreation, if it's public works, if it's finance.
I'm supposed to be working on this too?
you know, it's what?
HR.
Isn't the HR consultant supposed to be
No.
working on this too?
No.
No, not at all?
No.
Nothing to do with job
No, it has nothing to
descriptions?
do.
No, we
Well,
have a job description.
Yeah, is she
Oh, yeah.
involved with job descriptions
Oh, yeah.
for all departments?
What he's talking about is the plan to how to handle the workflow.
Yeah, I know, but still, that
You know,
deals
how
with
much,
job
what staff do
description.
we need, you know, what's the right level of staffing, what's the right level of service?
But you're right, that'll help.
It does, because if you know specifically what somebody's job that's why we're voting on it tonight, right, what the job description is. So we know what the person's
And we-
responsibilities are.
We just had a meeting and discussed all that with Kathy, and so,
Right.
This week you did that.
yes.
I mean,
right.
Bob, I would say they're
Some work to do.
complementary, it's not a replacement for it, I think they're complementary, you know, that's kind of foundational stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but this is the next level.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
he comes in, he's the leader of a major function in the town.
Yeah, I just throw a little caution to the wind on the job description thing. I mean, I know she's updating job descriptions, but they're probably what existed here already. Things have changed in 10 years,
Yeah.
in 20 years, whatever. Jobs may not be the same.
They're not.
Some job,
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping
some
she's
tasks are
attuned to that.
obsolete,
That's
and
what
there
we're
are new
looking at.
tasks
We
that have
don't-
taken their place.
Yeah,
The director is the guy that'll let you know that.
right,
Exactly.
He's the guy, that's his job. He
Right.
doesn't know that. You know,
No.
he has to know that.
right.
That's right, like, nuance hard for, the HR person to understand.
You know, what we're
without
doing with
input
Oh, yeah.
wetlands, you
from
know,
the
is that
director.
sufficient, you know, is that enough? You know, I mean, all those things, I mean, your interface with the boards and commissions.
Yes.
You know, I mean, all that type of stuff is part of a plan,
Yeah.
you know, so we'll talk specifics, but,
Plus,
okay.
you're here tonight meeting too,
Yep.
right? It's another thing you gotta do, and you gotta prepare for
Part of
that.
my job.
That's right, but I'm just saying, there's a lot to it.
Yes, there is, and I'm still learning that, so.
Right.
Very good, okay, can we proceed?
Yeah, can we we need to make a motion to approve the, position description here for the land use technician?
And, authorize it being posted?
Yeah, okay, and authorize the, posting of this, description.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
So
you.
we'll look for
Thank
that
you.
plan in about 6 months.
Okay.
I'll mark my calendar, don't worry.
All right. I'll mark mine too, so I get it done.
And I'd be happy to go for, you know, if you ever have an hour or wanna come.
Oh, yeah.
get
I'll
into
come
the
in and meet
field.
with you. Yeah.
I'd be happy to try and show you some of the.
I'd also like to thank
lay of
you,
our
Jen, for
relationship.
putting together this budget that, for the last 5 years, as
Yeah.
to what the land use department has been spending, and it looks like back in 2018, it was 312,000.
Yep.
And we're right now budgeting for 261,000 for the same department.
Well, that's not accurate.
What's not accurate about it?
We're paying $72,000 a year to Stafford for a building official, and that's not reflected on there.
Yeah, well, that's a contract, not part of the salary.
But still part of the salary, I mean, you had the prior incumbent there, so, I mean, so you gotta add $72,000 to that, 'cause you're paying them $6,000 a month.
Okay, so it doesn't include everybody.
Yeah,
Alright.
if it was a contract, then it would be less.
Right.
Well, but that's our cost right now.
I know,
It's a hard number.
True, yeah,
Well,
no, I hear what you're
also,
saying.
we're gonna be
Yeah.
talking about what's going on with Stafford in terms of the EMS and what type of
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you both,
Both.
thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
there's a lot of variables.
Okay.
See you again, Todd.
Bond perspective.
Okay, the next item, on the agenda here is the, prospective, bond projects that we're anticipating and, need to get the process started.
Yeah, again, Todd Rowland, Director of Public Works, for the record. The two items that we're looking to, and there's no action items tonight, there's nothing to act on, this is informational only. The two items that we will be looking for the bonding package will be the school project, as Stephanie has talked about, and a community center to replace our existing senior center. As far as the community center goes, we went out to, we've been talking about it for a while, and all the deficiencies in the existing senior center. It's one room, and the building is not up to code, let's say.
It was built 30 years ago and was built by volunteers who came with a hammer and nails to help, and everybody felt great about.
And kudos to them for
contributing.
doing
Yeah,
it at the
great.
time, it was
Absolutely. We didn't have
certainly better
we
than
didn't have a
nothing,
senior
and
center at the time.
it
But we
served
ended
us
up
well.
with something that was really not according to code, and it's just.
It doesn't meet the needs of the community today, or what, like most communities are going towards, is away from a single-purpose building such as a senior center and more to a community-based building such as a community center. Now, seniors will be priority, if you will, in it, certainly during the day, and other groups could use it during the day as well as at night. Right now, the senior center is well underused at nighttime, and space is a premium here. We had been talking about this particularly when ARPA came up, essentially my enormous wish list of things that come up all the time, and we went around with town staff, with finance, and looked at different things that are feasible and what would best serve the town. And after many meetings, we came up with we wrote an RFQ for a community center and put that out and put it out to 20 architectural firms, of which we got commitments from 12 that they would be interested in it. However, when the deadline passed, we actually had 2 submittals. We met again with town staff and picked the winning architectural firm from the RFQ, which is GWO Architects. We had an initial meeting with them a couple weeks ago. They are currently working up a proposal to take a look at designing a new community center, and we've looked at 2 different sites that could possibly house it. There's a lot of
Can you just pass that book around that you have right there?
oh, this
just
is
to
their
say?
proposal.
Yeah,
Well, this is
you might wanna see
a
it.
body of their work.
Yeah. Gives you an idea what they're
And
what
their
they produce.
response to the RFQ. We've got a couple sites that are
And they're located
potential.
in West Hartford.
All of this is going to include town hearings, town meetings, senior center meetings with the seniors to get their input on what they feel their needs are going in for the next several decades if this project gets off the ground.
You've also looked at some other community centers in
We have.
like-kind towns.
This is the 3rd go-round for a building committee since I've been here. Back in 2018, we had another building committee looking at community center as well as police and fire needs. That never got anywhere. It got fairly political, honestly, and it just was disbanded, so it never got anywhere. The need hasn't changed.
To me, the committee you put together got a lot of control. I mean, you had too many people on it, and
We had a lot of
different voices. And
yeah, and a lot of
lack of
personalities on it, and a lot of
organization
players in town, and it was premature to do that. We wanted to let's start with a vision first, and then talk to the community members about what their vision is, what their needs are, and how we can best serve the community over the next several decades if this project gets funded, and that's a big if. Right now, first step is to, we went with GWO. They're gonna present us with a proposal in the next week or so, which we'll be bringing to this body to take a look at and approve, and then we have to go to finance and figure out how we will pay for this. That would be the steps. Once we contract with them and fund them, the next step is to start with the designs, conceptual drawings, meeting with the residents. What would you like to see? Figure out where we can best put this facility. And once we have all that information, then we'll get some opinions of probable cost, of real construction costs, and what it'll look like. This is a several-year project.
Yeah, could you also speak to the recreational aspects of this, because that's at least half of the center.
If not more, I would like to invite Director Parcell up to talk about that.
Involves the population of the entire town, not just.
Indeed, not just the seniors.
Just those important people that are more than 55 years old, yeah.
So, you all know the senior center has its challenges. It's a 1-room building, as you all know. Difficult to run programming in there, difficult to run more than one program in there at one time. The senior center is for adults 55 plus. There are a lot of people that will not go to the senior center because it is called a senior center. I think having a community center that involves everybody in town, we would be able to run programs. We would have multi-purpose rooms, exercise rooms, a walking track. These are our
goals, and a gym.
This is what we want. We don't know what the cost is going to be, but a full-size gym.
I can tell you a lot.
We know a lot.
Full-size gym because honestly, getting space in the schools is difficult because everybody wants space in the schools. COVID made it
How many
that
people
much
are
more
getting
difficult.
denied though? I mean, do we have information on what groups have requested use of the gym and they're getting denied?
Well,
recreation.
so, for the last, well, because of COVID, the elementary school, their cafeteria, their gym is half of the cafeteria. So the basketball association, the rec programs, you couldn't use the gym. We haven't been able to use the gym.
But they're going away from that this year, right? I mean, they're gonna go back to normal cafeteria.
That's the hope, right?
So, I mean, I
What
think
the
that
hope
issue
is.
would be alleviated. I mean, that was a
Somewhat,
temporary.
but even
but-
before COVID, space was at premium because.
In the wintertime.
The groups all wanna use it at the same time.
Yeah, well.
So in the
Because it's after
wintertime,
school.
So a lot of
every-
evenings and afternoons,
Yeah.
there wasn't space, right?
Evenings and weekends.
Yeah, right.
And the schools have their own functions as well.
That's correct.
And they
Well,
also
right.
now have
Curious as
summer
to
school in the elementary
who-
school, which.
Cause I hear
closes
this
that off.
complaint a lot, you know, I hear it in the town where I work, and of course, when I get on the phone with them, I say, well, I have this school available. Well, I don't like that school, I like this school. Well, no, there's a gym available, you can
Yeah.
have it.
I don't
You
think
know?
that's it, I
No.
don't, I
Use
think
any
that
space you
anybody
can
will
get.
take a gym, if they can get in the gym, they will take it.
Yep.
In the wintertime, it's literally impossible to get gym space because of basketball. Between the basketball association, the middle school program, the high school program, the girls program, and then whatever
AAU.
other,
Oh,
other
AAU,
sports,
yeah.
winter sports maybe
The
happening in
wrestling
the gym.
program.
Right.
You
Yep.
cannot get inside into the gym. So having our own gym, we would be able to have indoor pickleball. You know, we don't have our designated pickleball courts here in
No,
town.
we share with the tennis courts, and that, there's some friction.
Yeah.
Right.
Everywhere there's, it would be nice to have indoor pickleball courts, and we would be able to use them all year long, not just, spring, summer, and fall.
And don't a lot of these recreational gyms have walk-around areas above?
That's what we
Yeah,
envisioned.
so we're
with
hoping
Above
for
the-
an indoor track as well,
Indoor
which
track,
would be
right.
safe places for people to walk, for moms to walk, seniors, but it would be indoors, so
In the
we wouldn't have to
wintertime.
worry about it in the wintertime.
And one, as Maureen had alluded to, one of our issues with our current senior center is that the 55 and older, let's say 55 to 70-year-old active seniors won't go there because it's a senior center and they don't feel comfortable going to a senior center. And they've said this.
And,
Yeah.
and even if we have a program, some of the programs that we offer, like Tai Chi for older adults, or chair yoga, for older adults, it's not just good for older adults, it's good for people that have health issues. So people that have disabilities of any
Rehabilitation,
sort.
yeah.
But they won't go to the senior center because it's a senior center.
How are we gonna staff this center? I mean, like, the schools have custodians that work a night shift and stuff. I mean, how are we gonna hire staff then to work, or?
We're envisioning, well, it depends on how big it is. We don't know to the answer to that question. How big is the center that we can afford?
I mean, I know when Vernon opened their senior center, they had to hire 3 more full-time people to staff it.
3.
Yeah, there's gonna be some staffing, I'm
There
sure.
if it's big enough, if it's
But
the
that's
size that
significant
I would
cost.
like, we'll have to hire more staff.
Yeah.
But that's a significant cost, though.
Yeah, there is definitely an operating
Well, it's up to
cost
the
for any
community.
group, absolutely. However, if we're hitting most of the groups in town and the residents want it, I would expect they would be willing to pay for it.
What other town has something similar to this?
Ellington?
There's many towns.
Well, Ellington's, this is what we
The
modeled.
the latest example is Rocky Hill.
And Mansfield
And
has
it's
a
only,
Mansfield.
it's less than, a year old
So
probably.
Mansfield has one, but they charge.
Yes, there is a fee,
Well,
but they also have a big pool, which I believe
Yeah, we're not
is the
doing
But
biggest
it's like
cost.
$60 a month to belong,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's very expensive and.
And I believe the majority of that is because of the pool.
Yeah,
for
that,
the operating
we're
cost
not
of that.
proposing the pool. No.
Again, I mean, that's so far down the road, I mean, let's.
But you're still
Make it
talking
work.
$20-30 million, what you're talking.
No.
No,
We're
we're
looking
not.
at 4 to 5, something like that.
4 to 5 million?
I'll
hear,
I'll
right.
do the financial piece after they
Yeah.
do the justification talk here.
I think clearly also there was a survey taken and there
There's
was a
been
lot
2
of
surveys,
interest.
including the COVID survey,
rec-
and they've all come back with, more opportunities in town, is very high on the list.
For recreation.
For recreation in particular, for all age groups in particular.
Right.
In that vein. Now, as far as, and again, this is beginning steps. We don't even know, we don't have a plan. We don't have any conceptual drawings, we have nothing right now, so we're guessing at the size and scope that Summers is going to be comfortable with. We don't know yet. we have to have an architect come in and meet with all of the different parties to come up with some ideas, and then really look at what the construction costs are gonna be, and look at what can we afford.
But you've already talked to the architect once, and you have somewhat of an idea of.
Very ballpark square
Yeah.
footage prices, but until you know what kind of accoutrements you're adding to a building,
right.
square footage is wildly inaccurate.
Yeah.
You can quote anything, but I could build you a rectangle with nothing in it for $150 a square foot, or that same size will be $1,000 a square foot. I mean, what are you doing that really matters?
I mean, gym, elevated track, several meeting function rooms,
Yeah.
I mean, I hear a lot of cost there.
It's not gonna be cheap, absolutely.
Well, it's, and we know we need a new senior center, right?
Absolutely.
And if we're going to build a senior center at some point, then why not build a community center instead to include the entire community?
And aren't other communities doing that right now?
Yes, Rocky Hill. It's more inclusive, it's financially justified, you're including more people in the town. In fact, what I heard from my financial advisor was that the sentiment in Rocky Hill was very much against the senior center until they called it a senior community center. They put it both, senior/community center, and then it passed the referendum.
How much did they pay?
I have not got the price. He's talking about the
I bet
square
you're more
foot
than
price.
4
I mean,
million.
everything I've read that says the
Rocky
square
Hill
foot
property.
price is $400 to $500
Rocky Hill.
a
I
square
bet you
foot.
20 to 30 million if I had to
Wow.
guess.
No, I would say it would be no
Ellington
more
did
than
theirs for
seven and a
5.5.
half million.
Well, when the fire chief came in, he wanted to build a new firehouse, and, they thought they were gonna do it for what? You were here for that.
That was a police and fire public
Yeah,
that was
safety
a public
complex.
safety.
What did that cost come in at?
25 or 26
Our
million.
that architect
How
was
much was that?
26 million or something like that,
26
but that was,
million.
that was 26 million, and that was
And that was 6 years ago or whatever, or 5 years
6 years ago, but you're talking public safety,
And
that's
cost
a
it double.
different animal, and that was brick, and this.
How much did we build that current firehouse for?
I'm not gonna sit here and try to shoot down everything that's being said, let's just find out exactly what is said.
We need to get
what the
started
numbers
on
are,
this.
because we kinda need to get off the snide on this thing, because you do have, inflation issues, you do have, interest rates are going up.
But we already missed that opportunity, I mean, so when are we talking
Well,
about
no,
going to
we're in the
bond?
midst of a window right now, we have not totally
But when are we
missed
talking
yet.
about going to bond?
Well,
The bond would be early next year.
I mean, I think
You have
we
to go
would-
to referendum this November in order to do that.
But I think if we're planning to go in November, we've already missed the window, and interest rates
No,
are
we have
going
not
up.
missed the window, we have until September 1st to start the window. I
we've got
don't
some
know where
pretty-
you're getting your information, if you would listen, you would know.
We've got some pretty firm
We don't know
ideas
what we're putting
on
in the
what
bond.
is the schedule that we can accommodate.
Yeah, I do.
And Mike's gonna give it.
So Mike, as long as you're saying that one of the advantages of going and rushing and doing this in November, even though we don't have any kind of a plan or community input, if that, the benefit's low interest rates, I'm saying we missed that.
Yeah,
You may or may not have, they actually went down a day or so ago.
well, I have a plan.
Right, I mean, yesterday, this is just an example, yesterday, Mount Kisco, New York, a $10 million 20-year bond. They're AA1 Moody, we're AA2 Moody, 3.46 tick. Tick is your total interest cost. Danbury on the 30th, June, 3.452, $20 million 20-year, they're AA plus, Standard & Poor's, that's what we are. And then the Harrison, New York on the 29th of June, 3.47. It's a 19-year bond, AA1 Moody's. So you're looking at 3.5%. That's where you are today. The numbers that we're working on right now for the future are a percentage and a half higher, just for analysis purposes. We're thinking that it'll be in the 4s. That's still less than what we paid for bonds years ago. So,
And if you,
Can I jump in real quick
and
to
the
answer
problem
your
is,
question earlier too, Bill? I had to look it up online, but I found the Rocky Hill, community center. It's a 15,000 square foot
it
community
is
center.
15.
It was $10.5 million.
Thank
So, and it has an indoor track. It's not elevated, so maybe we don't go elevated, but it's an indoor track.
And I don't know if what we
Well,
were
the
envisioning was
elevated is because of
15,000.
No, we originally talked about 10 to 12, something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I mean, if you wanna look at what's around us,
Again, we have no
Enfield is the
plan,
biggest,
so
it's
until
a
we have a
palace,
consultant, we
it's
don't know.
20,000 square feet. This building across the street is only 3,200 square feet.
Something.
It's tiny, and as Maureen points out, it's a single room. If you're looking at, Rocky Hill, it is 15,000, Ellington is 10,600 square feet. So, I wouldn't build small, I would go at least 10, I wouldn't go any higher than 15, but, I mean, maybe, you know, again, it's cost. It's what are you gonna put inside that place?
What did Ellington cost, do we know?
Five and a
It
half.
was only like 4.56, was it
I
five?
thought it was five.
It was, but that was back in 2016,
Yes.
17, so.
Cost
Ellington's
down.
cost today.
Okay, well, I think first of all, that there's been a lot of discussion about the need for a community center slash senior center. and
Absolutely.
Well,
how-
who has said there's a need,
how-
I guess is my.
Well, I think we've had surveys in town where that's been one of the top things responding is what do you want in
Not a new
Summers.
community center.
That's what, well,
No one said
you wanna
that.
just let me finish here, Bill,
Yeah,
please?
go ahead.
That'd be great. So, I think that it's clear that there's a lot of interest in this town for a community center slash senior center that would greatly enhance the opportunities for the public across the board. And if the town can afford it, I think the town needs to build it, because if you keep talking about, hey, interest rates could be more tomorrow than they are today, and we can't afford it, you're gonna put this off for another 5 or 6 years. And I think the opportunity is now. I think, we've gotta be leaders here and try to anticipate not only what we need now, but what we're gonna need down the road. And we've definitely got an aging population in this town, and, I think the need's only gonna get greater.
Without a doubt.
And Mike, do you wanna say anything more about
Yeah, well, I mean,
schedule here?
So let's just get an idea of what the timeline on something like this would be, and let's just clarify what's included in that timeline. If you wanna just pass that along?
Maybe you could also talk about what the projects are you're talking about, and what
Yeah.
you think the, cost might be.
Well, again, I think that Maureen and Todd kind of pointed out, that there's a need for a community slash senior center. But we also have, an HVAC, which Stephanie was looking for, resolutions on, at the schools. You know, both of these situations do have roots back into the original facility assessment study that was initiated by the CIP committee, which report came out in 2016. It essentially said the senior center, I mean, in order to repair it, it's just not worth repairing. The schools, they said that there was all kinds of need for air quality at the time, but those two things never made it to any list because there were other priorities that did take precedence. In fact, many of those priorities were in our current bond issue that the school has with the track and other things. So, obviously, COVID put the HVAC and air quality back on the front burner. The state took that, ran with it, passed legislation, and those schools are now going to be under requirements and state requirements for air quality measurement and compliance. And
What do you mean you're gonna be under?
you're going to be, your schools in Vernon, along with the schools in Summers, are going to be within 2 years?
None of those passed. There was-
Nothing's gone through yet.
Nothing's gone through.
We haven't received any guidelines, but
Nothing's
Okay.
happened.
We're anticipating it.
Okay,
being so.
I would venture to guess that
It's
will pass
prohibited.
at some point. I'm not
prohibited.
gonna say that it's going to, but you know, so,
Well, we just said that you were going to.
so just because it doesn't pass, doesn't mean that we don't care about air quality for children.
Well,
in
now that's a
schools.
different thing. So
Right,
now we're
okay.
saying there's a regulation, now we're saying
All
there's
right,
no regulation.
so either way, I'm just trying to fill in a little background information.
Well, I just want facts, you know, I mean, we throw a lot of stuff around that's not true.
Well, if we want facts, we will
COVID's
talk
not
about
going
facts
away,
on the bond
COVID's gonna
timeline,
be
so,
here
you know.
for a long time, kids are gonna have to be vaccinated for
Yeah,
COVID
so-
now on a yearly basis. It's gonna be a problem, so you need to have it fixed for the schools.
So anyway, I would just like to, if I could just talk about this and then you ask your questions.
That would be helpful,
you know?
just
go
to
ahead.
describe,
Yeah.
first of
Okay.
all, the HVAC, situation.
So the HVAC
preschools.
is, I'm not exactly sure what the estimate is now, it's pretty substantial.
I wouldn't, until I have a design.
Right.
I'm not
Initially, we were
comfortable.
thinking around 7 million, and initially, we were thinking that the high school and Mabel B. Avery are gonna be a lot less, and that the real challenge is going to be the elementary school, and that'll be the highest cost of the three. So, I say that you have to wait and find out what the architect says. You have to find out, is the 80-20 rule in effect here? Do we do 2 schools and then figure out what we're gonna do with the elementary school? Or do you try to bite them all off at one time? That's not my decision. I'll give you the financial input on that. But, so that's one element of what would be in a bond package, and then the other one is the, senior community center. So in order to do that, what would be our next steps? And the timeline you have in front of you actually comes from bond counsel of our town, which I've put into a little bit more, understandable slide. And everything begins on June 1st, and that's when the Board of Selectmen, the slide has the step 1 is who does it, and then there's the date by which, and then underneath is what is the action that has to be done. So this lays it out. Every step of the way has to be done in accordance with state statute, and if town charter applies, that also applies here, so. So the process, and this happened last time approximately, for our last bond, it starts in September with a motion and a resolution by the Board of Selectmen. They would sign that resolution, and then within a week, the Board of Finance has to hold a special meeting to also agree to that. And then we schedule, we come up with referendum questions. Bond counsel helps you do that. The town clerk gets involved. I don't want to go through every one of these steps. You can look at these if you have questions, but this is the roadmap that takes you to November 1st.
Well, what are the preliminary things we have to do before September 1?
They're doing them right now. So this is a appropriation and bond authorization timeline. So what does that mean? That means that the residents go to vote on a question that asks them, should the town do this? And they can vote up or down. Each one of them will be a separate question, the school and the community center. So they can both pass, they can both fail, or you can go one way or the other. And all that really means is, and let's just say and I know this is a fictitious number because, and I want to make it wildly fictional, otherwise we'll end up being quoted in the media. Let's say it's $10 million for both. $5 million for the school, $5 million for that. We will ask on those questions, should the town spend up to $5 million on the construction of a new community senior center, and be authorized to bond up to that full amount if they so desire. So then what that lets you do is you can either bond for the whole amount or you can bond for a partial amount, so you don't necessarily bond for the entire appropriation. So that's what November 8th does. We don't go to the bond markets until probably the following year or something. And if you do what we've done in the past, the first thing that we do out of the gate is go for a short-term note, the bond anticipation note. We call it a BAN. And the interest rates on those are very low. And it's anywhere from 6 months to a year. You get the money, you get some seed money, you get some money to pay off. For example, you would repay the general fund for fronting the money for these studies, which you can do with the bond money. And then you can actually sit there and watch the market. And if the market gets heated and active, and there's really no way to control it. I mean, obviously world events and inflation and things like that will control what's going on in that market. If the market seems pretty stable, then you can go at it gradually, and hopefully we went at it gradually last time the interest rates came down.
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually went in front of the taxpayers, I believe, in November of 18, and we didn't make the final bond until November of 20. So we did 2 bands back to back 1 year, paying our way partially until the end. So somewhere in that time frame, we will look for an opportune moment. There will also probably be an opportunity to look at actually refunding some of our existing debt also and rolling it in at a better rate, because some of it I think might be a little bit higher. So I'm not a predictor of interest rates. I do know that, as Bill said, we have kind of missed a earlier window, which was definitely a lot lower, but
Well, we all know that, and that's.
3.5% right now.
There's a lot of lead time here, right?
And like I say, the analysis I'm doing is like 4.7, 4.8. I don't know. If it goes way beyond that, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means, well, maybe we don't do as much as we thought we were gonna do. Maybe we don't do both projects. Maybe we do one so it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
But to sit here and not do anything, put yourself at a disadvantage completely, so.
So I guess my question is, and don't mistake what I'm saying, I know sometimes people mistake what I'm saying, I'm not against the concept, I'm not against the idea, I think we definitely need to do something with our existing senior center. What that is, I don't know if we agree on that, I don't know if we know what that is yet, I mean, the existing center is not great. I guess my question is, I mean, July 7th, you're asking the Board of Selectmen to approve this in 2 months. There's been no committee that we've appointed, I mean, just a group of town employees that are meeting. They're working on these vague surveys that say people want more. I saw the survey questions, I mean, it's, you know, do you like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? I mean, I don't know you can make any kind of an inference from people saying that I want more services. I mean, do they want more tennis lessons? Do they want a community center that costs them $10 million? I mean, I think that's a pretty far leap. We gotta get a lot of public input on this. I mean, I don't like the idea of, I think we could damage the whole process long term. If we go to referendum in November, I think there's a pretty good chance it's gonna fail. And I think then people will be poisoned to the idea and it's gonna be hard to get it through in the future. I guess my question is, what's the rush? I mean, I think we missed the opportunity with the interest rates.
The rush is the interest rates, the
But I
rush
think we
is
missed it.
inflation.
I don't think you can say that.
So.
And I think we missed inflation. Honestly,
I
I
don't
think
think
we
you
missed
can,
it.
I don't think you can say that.
I don't know anyone here
Unless
who's
you got a
qualified
crystal
to make
ball.
that statement, because I'm not an economist, so I really don't know.
I got a lot of multi-million-dollar projects, and believe me, inflation is out of control right now, and the costs are just going up and up and up and up.
Well, I think our finance director's got a pretty good
One of
handle on
one of
what's
the
going on here.
benefits of the firm, that at least I know for the senior center, is they will automatically put themselves in the process with drawings, pictures, meetings. They'll do everything for the town. So you will have and we'll be hearing from them shortly.
Yeah.
We will have a couple of months worth of, so
Input.
I don't understand the idea
But what do you mean a
of,
couple of
I don't
months of input? I mean, Mike, we're asking to vote on it September 1st to
Right.
approve it. So, I mean, we don't have even anything. I mean, location, a drawing, even what it's gonna be.
We're moving in that direction, we're moving and making.
All you are doing is authorizing. You don't even ever have to act on the authorization.
But I have a problem. I mean, I know we say that the number one people want is more
More.
recreation. Well, no, actually, the number one thing people want is lower taxes. And I've heard from a lot of
Well,
people about
one
the
of
car
the-
tax bills that went out.
And that's the
No.
misunderstanding that many people have. I was accused in social media and in the paper the last time around, how could he say that there's not gonna be any tax increase? There has never been a tax increase related to debt service costs in this town from the last bond. So, I did it, we did it, I don't have a problem. I'm not saying there might not be one here. I'm saying that, let us see what it's gonna be.
Why doesn't
Depending
the
on-
Board of Selectmen appoint a committee that can hold some public meetings, you know, gather some input? I mean, I'm not voting on any appropriations. I'm not in favor of any appropriation until we have some public input, or a committee that we've appointed to look at this. You know, I mean, some very well-intentioned town employees meeting, I mean, that's not the desire of the town. I mean, I think that you have great ideas. I think it's probably a direction we need to go in at some point. I agree, it's gonna be a multi-year process, but I think we're gonna poison the process if we say, hey, trust us, give us a pot of money, and we promise we'll do a good job.
Well, I think that's a little,
I mean,
that's
that's
a little
a-
short-sighted, I think we're talking
Bill, I
about.
don't think you're characterizing it accurately.
Well, when you have no plan, what else are you doing? You're saying, give me $10 million, we're gonna build you something, we promise.
You can't have a plan until you actually get the architect's designs.
So why are we
You're
going to
saying-
bond so soon?
You're arguing that you don't want it at all, is what you're saying.
I'm arguing, let's do this, why are we doing this now? I'm saying, why don't we plan it, and then let's ask for an appropriation next year. We missed the window. You know, inflation, that ship sailed.
We still think there's an opportunity for the window, Bill. You seem to be the only person in the room that thinks we've missed the window.
I don't know, I mean, how many big construction projects has anyone here in the room done? Have you done any? I've done a lot recently. I mean, Todd's done a few.
Maybe we should put you in charge of this then.
So I guess
because,
you're the
mean,
only
this
expert in the room, is that it?
I'm not saying I am, I'm just saying that I think we're only hearing a few limited opinions.
I think we gotta get started somewhere, Bill, and it's all about leadership, and I
I'm
think that's what
fine
we're
with
trying
getting started.
trying to put our best foot forward in the best interest of this town, and to just, and not be negative about what we can or can't do. We gotta get out there and determine what's possible.
Okay, so I just proposed that path forward. It's not
But
voting
you're also
on
at
a
the same
20 in
time
2
saying,
months.
but you're also at the same time saying, hey, no way, Jose, are we gonna have a referendum in November?
Why would we? It's a rush. I mean, this is a rush. No one's, this has just come out of the blue, and all of a sudden we're voting for $10 million?
Let's hear about this coming out of the blue. Would you respond to that, Mike, coming out of the blue? How long we've been talking about this?
People have been talking about this for years. I think they've been waiting for the town to do something. It's not like they're gonna not have an opportunity for input. They are going to have that opportunity. We're gonna have all the meetings they need. They're gonna be informed. I just don't see it.
What if people want a $20 million center? And we only
But then I would
appropriated
tell
10
them
million.
as CFO, they can't afford the $20 million center unless they want a tax increase.
There you go.
Well, maybe some people do. I mean, I'm saying we don't know. I mean, are the schools gonna be ready for HVAC? You know, I mean, are they gonna have
Oh.
stuff here September first with a number?
Maybe the school doesn't do the entire 3 buildings. Maybe the school does 1 or 2 buildings. We don't have to bite everything off at one time. And you have to understand, there's a lot of money out there, Bill. People are spending it. It's hard to get an architect. It's going to be hard to get a construction company. People are using ARPA dollars for stuff like this, along with bond dollars. So,
It's not that
all
hard.
I'm saying is
It's
that,
fine.
if you want it, you gotta go for it. If you don't, and you just wanna sit and study it, well, then you can do that too. I'm the CFO. You decide if you want it, I'll tell you how you can finance it and whether you
But
can
I'm saying,
afford it.
why couldn't we go to referendum in May or next November?
Well, in the middle of a budget cycle.
Why couldn't we go in May?
Well, I think that'd be kinda hard to do when we were trying to do budget and referendum at the same time.
Other towns have done it. I mean,
Okay.
We're trying to do the best.
Maybe, you know, okay. I just think it makes a lot of convergence and confusion at that time. Because people are then looking at it as an issue that's related to their annual budget and taxes, and it's not really.
Yeah.
It's a separate issue, it's a capital.
I think our
Capital
voters are pretty
improvement.
sophisticated.
No, I think there is a problem with doing it at the same time.
So, I mean, you know,
I'm just wondering why there's
it's
a
your
rush.
opportunity to disagree, I mean, but it's fine.
I mean, I just feel like we're gonna poison the whole process, cause this referendum gets voted down, which I think it will in November, then what do? We come back with a failed project? You know, and say, oh yeah, well, sorry, now we're gonna scale it back and do something, you know, why let it fail in the beginning? Why not?
I'm not sure I share your prediction,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
I mean.
Well, I just don't wanna fail it, cause I think that it's
I
got some
don't
good
think
potential.
anybody in this room wants to fail, Bill. I think a lot of us are a little more positive thinking and a little more optimistic about what we as leaders can accomplish.
I would also like to get some town input too before we get to be too negative.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't really even had the opportunity to get any input from people, and they were saying that was gonna be the first steps. We were gonna have some public
We
hearings.
anticipate that.
And
So
then-
Bob, I couldn't agree more, but that's my point, is we're 6-7 weeks away from voting as a board, according to this timeline, on approving it. So we're gonna get all of our public input over the summer and be ready to vote on September 1st? I mean, I agree with you, Bob.
Why don't we try to do that? What's wrong with trying to do it? Are you worried about failing?
I'm not worried about failing, I'm worried about doing what's best for the town, and
Well,
I
that's
just,
what we all wanna do.
so if we're saying interest rates and inflation, I mean, we just talked about that. I mean, we missed that opportunity.
Well, that's your point of view, not mine.
Okay?
I don't think it's our CFO's point either.
You missed it at its low point.
Yeah.
It's still lower than.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interest rates are just unbelievably low.
Well, when are we gonna issue the bond? 24? What are the interest rates gonna look like in 2024?
We may issue the bond in 23 in February. It depends on what's happening with interest rates.
I don't know.
There's so many variables here, and I just would hate to shoot it down just based on conjecture and not on facts.
I just don't think it's
agree.
ready. I think it's a half of an idea, and I don't wanna fail something that's good because it's not ready.
We're trying to get it ready. as best we can. And, I think the town expects us to do that, and not to sit back.
Haven't heard why we
and
couldn't
say,
do it
"Hey,
in
might
May.
fail."
Why can't we do it in May?
I think you just heard that from, Mike.
Cause our taxpayers are gonna be confused?
I think that's very likely, absolutely. They've got very confused with, hey, how come I have to pay more for my personal property car tax this year?
Oh, yeah.
Why is the town raising that up? You know, we don't have any control over that.
That's a big issue in
Now
every
you're raising
single
my
town.
budget,
And
now
they-
you
and
wanna,
we have a lot
now
of
you
people
wanna do
screaming
a
about
bond on
that.
top
Yeah.
of that
Hey.
too, and maybe pay more taxes, and the whole optics of it is just, is not good.
Okay, well, I mean, people need to understand where their tax money's going. I mean, I don't feel we're ready. The schools aren't ready. I don't feel like this project's ready based on what I heard. I think it's a good idea.
Well, we're trying to get ready, so let's not shoot it down before we get
The
started.
schools are just giving us a warning about what potentially could happen and down the line, isn't that correct?
Yeah, but I have no idea what
And you've already made that clear, you don't know what some of these things are, and there's a lot of variables we don't have control over. But you're just trying to give us some information, that's what this group's here trying to do, is trying to gather some information, get some input from the community. Once we do that, then we'll go to the next step.
Look, if weeks go by and we don't have anything from these architects, then I might be leaning toward your opinion, because then we're shooting in the dark. But if we have some information that these architects can supply us, then I see no reason to move forward.
But why wouldn't we appoint a commission, the board, and hold public meetings so people can see it transparently, what's going on?
Well, we plan on doing that all along. We're gonna have transparency, we're gonna have a presentation, we're gonna have a design, a picture, a concept, and get feedback at that public hearing. What do you think, fellas?
When's that gonna be?
The first step is to hire the architect, we haven't done that.
But I'm saying, when's this meeting that the first selectmen, when do you propose to hold that?
This
Well,
summer.
we
We
need,
have to hire the architect first, come up with some conceptual drawings,
we need to get,
then hold public hearings and and particularly at the senior center for the seniors, get their input as well.
So you're saying 6-7 weeks?
It's a tight timeline, no doubt.
And I mean, they're gonna draw these conceptual drawings for free?
No,
So
the
how
next
would
thing
we
we're
have an
coming to you with
appropriation?
is a proposal for an appropriation to hire them, we don't even have that. This is just information tonight.
So in a few weeks, we'll come back with an appropriation to hire them, then they're gonna do it,
They're gonna work
require
it.
a town meeting.
it's gonna require a town meeting,
Early August, yeah.
and we're gonna be ready to vote on this September 1st. I mean, it just seems ridiculous. I mean, so just for the record, has the superintendent or the Board of Education requested that we go to bond in November for this?
No,
Okay,
No.
are they ready?
I thought they were I thought they were.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we should probably check with them to see if they're ready, if they're gonna be ready, cause they have not made this request. I mean, I know they have the idea of the funding, the HVAC, we saw it tonight, but I have not seen the Board of Education or the superintendent come here to say, we need money in November.
So, but if we're ready with the senior center, we would do that then. I mean, I don't, again, I'm being, trying to be as flexible as I can be.
I'm just trying to be realistic, and again, I don't wanna, please don't perceive me as being negative, I think some people are. I think what I'm
Well,
saying is, it seems like a rush job to me, and why?
I think we've been thinking about this for a while, Phil. It's not,
When you say we, who? It hasn't been me.
well, it's one of the reasons we're talking about it tonight. We're getting a lot of pushback from you.
So July 7th, and we're gonna vote on this in 7 weeks, over the summertime, and we don't even have an appropriation for an architect yet, and we have to go to town meeting for that. So we have to meet in 2 weeks, we'll set a town meeting date, we have to go to the Board of Finance,
Gotta go to the Board of Finance and then come back to you to set the town meeting
and then
date.
go,
They
come
have
back to us, so we're not gonna set the
August
meeting
4th.
till August,
August 4th, you could set the
town meeting date.
town meeting.
Then we gotta hold the town, we have to have the appropriation, they have to draw it, then we have to come back, we have to review the plans, then we have to have another town meeting for the feedback and input. I mean, I just don't see it happening.
Well, we gotta get started somewhere, Bill.
But you're
If-
starting
if-
the process.
If the schedule
You're not-
doesn't
you know,
allow
you
us.
can pull the plug on the process
Exactly.
any time before November.
Exactly.
You don't have to.
We need to step
But
out
in
and-
order to have it on that ballot, this is the steps you have, the 10 steps you have to take, and this is the date you have to start, and this is the plan you have to follow. Now, you could be at step 9 on October 27th and say, you know what? Bill is right, this is rushing it, let's just put it off, and you can pull the plug.
But then we just don't know, we look like we don't know what we're doing.
No, it
that's not
doesn't,
true.
no, because there are things that are out of our control, Bill.
There are certain things that are out of our control, absolutely.
But I mean, I just walked you through this timeline, and it sounds like no one thought about this timeline before right now. And I mean, this is basic 101.
That's not true.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's not true.
So, you think with an appropriation on August
You guys
fourth,
have been
that
thinking
an
about this for
architect.
quite a while, haven't
That's
you?
right, for a
So
month.
you
Oh,
think,
this, yeah,
Todd,
but-
and I work with a lot of architects, you think with an appropriation on August fourth, you're gonna have designs by September first?
It's an extremely tight timeline.
I don't think it's realistic at all. Over the summer, with as busy as these architects are, I'm working with a lot of architectural firms right now.
Well, what's wrong with getting started now, Bill? I don't get that. I just, you know,
Tim, if I said one
fear of
time,
failure is,
if I said one time not to get started, I've just said that I think this timeline is completely unrealistic. And I think we should probably come back in a couple of weeks with a proposal to start a series of public meetings and things to discuss it. I mean, I think just the location of it's gonna be a big question. You know, whether it's on the existing footprint, or I know there's been a proposal to put it here, you know, maybe a field road, I mean, there's a few spots. But,
That's all part of what they would be doing for us.
but if I'm a voter gonna vote on this at a referendum, I think I wanna know the answer to that.
Yeah,
You'll have the answer.
I'm not gonna vote until we have the answer.
but we don't even, that's even premature. We don't have a proposal from them to hire them yet, so that we're expecting in the next couple of weeks. And that'll be
So-
the next thing we come back to this board with.
We're gonna keep assessing it as we go along, and if we don't have, if we run out of time, we can't get it done, we just won't do it, right? But we can continue the process.
Exactly. Take
We won't
advantage
do
of
it
what
in
we.
this timeline, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
then
pushing
maybe we have
forward
to
and-
adjust, but we're just trying it, if it doesn't work, we'll go
Right.
on to another plan.
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
Just do the best we can.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your work on this.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is approval of minutes, for the, meeting of June 23rd, special meeting,
Mhm.
Board of Selectmen.
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the, minutes of June 23rd, 2022, special meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
Second it.
Any further discussion? I've reviewed the minutes myself and edited them in advance. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next is, we need a motion to approve the minutes of, a special meeting on June 23rd, same day. It was a joint meeting with the Board of Stafford, Board of Selectmen.
My question is, does Stafford have to approve these minutes as well?
I don't know. That's a good question. Would they do their own minutes?
I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think they would have to do their own.
Maybe we just communicate with them,
Yeah, I
just,
can find out, that's, yeah.
Well, it doesn't hurt for us to approve the minutes as we see.
Oh, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine
Okay,
with that.
great.
I'll
We
email
have to
them.
approve them regardless.
Right.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from,
June 23rd.
June 23rd, special meeting.
With the Board of
With the
Selectmen,
Board of
Stafford.
Selectmen.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We adjourn. It is